The luxury ship floated dead in space. Inside, Captain Thalen stood on the bridge, his forearms trembling. The massive vessel called Serenity's Dawn carried 3,000 Valorian passengers. All of them were now in terrible danger. Thalen was a Valorian, tall and thin with pale blue skin. His people were peaceful. They had no weapons, no soldiers, no concept of war. For 5,000 years, Valorians had lived without violence. It was their greatest achievement. Now it might be their doom. "Captain, the engines are completely dead," his first officer, Nessa, reported. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. "We cannot move. We cannot jump to faster than light speed. We are stuck here." Thalen looked at the star map. Their location made his blood run cold. They were near the contested border, a region of space controlled by the Kravax Dominion. The Kravax were raiders, slavers, and killers. They preyed on weak ships like his. "Send a distress signal," Thalen ordered. "Use all frequencies. Tell the Galactic Patrol we need immediate help." Nessa worked quickly at her station. After a moment, she looked up with bad news. "The Galactic Patrol received our message. They say help will arrive in 6 standard cycles." 6 cycles? Thalen felt his hope drain away. "How long until the Kravax detect us?" The sensor officer spoke quietly. "Captain, I'm already detecting 3 Kravax ships. They are moving toward us. They will arrive in 2 cycles." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Kravax would reach them 4 cycles before help arrived. There would be no rescue. The passengers would be taken as slaves or killed for sport. Thalen made a decision that would change everything. "Open all communication channels. Every frequency, including the restricted ones." "Captain, that includes the human channels," Nessa said carefully. "The Galactic Council has Protocol 7. We are forbidden from contacting human military forces except in existential emergencies." "This is an existential emergency," Thalen said firmly. "Send the distress call on all channels. Include the human frequencies." The message went out across space, traveling at the speed of light, reaching further and further. Most species would ignore it. The Galactic Patrol had already responded. But somewhere out in the darkness, someone else received the call. Far away, a human warship called the Indomitable moved through space on patrol. It was smaller than most galactic vessels, but built differently. Where other ships were smooth and elegant, the Indomitable was angular and armored. It looked like it was designed to fight, to take damage, to survive. On the bridge, Captain Maria Reeves sat in her command chair. She was 42 years old with short dark hair and sharp eyes. She had served in the United Nations Space Command for 20 years. She knew war. She knew sacrifice. She knew duty. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal," her communications officer reported. "It is from a Valorian cruise ship. They have engine failure near the contested border." Reeves sat forward. "Location?" "Calculating now, Captain. We can reach them in 1.5 cycles at maximum burn." "The Galactic Patrol?" Reeves asked. "Already contacted. They report 6 cycles response time." Reeves did the math instantly. The Valorians would be defenseless for over 4 cycles. In that region of space, Kravax raiders would find them quickly. She stood up. Set course for the Valorian ship. Maximum acceleration. Battle stations. Her executive officer, Commander Chen, stepped closer. "Captain, the Galactic Council will protest. Protocol 7 specifically restricts human military intervention." "A ship full of civilians is about to be attacked by slavers," Reeves said coldly. "Protocol 7 can wait. We are going." The Indomitable changed course, its powerful engines burning hard. Inside, the human crew moved to their stations. They locked down equipment, sealed hatches, and prepared weapons. They had trained for this. They were ready. In space, the ship accelerated to speeds that would kill most alien species. Humans could endure it because they evolved on Earth, a heavy gravity world with a poisonous atmosphere. Other species called Earth a Class 12 death world. Only the craziest, toughest, most dangerous creatures could survive there. Humans called it home. Aboard the Serenity's Dawn, Nessa suddenly looked up from her station. "Captain, we have a response to our distress call." "The Galactic Patrol?" Thalen asked hopefully. "No, Captain. It is a human ship. The UNSC Indomitable. They say they will reach us in 1.5 cycles." The bridge fell silent again, but this time the silence was different. It was fear of a new kind. Every species in the galaxy knew about humans. They were the newcomers, the strange ones, the Deathworlders. They came from a planet so hostile that visiting it required protective suits. They breathed oxygen which was corrosive to many species. They ate poison for pleasure and called it spicy food. Their bodies could survive injuries that would kill others, but it was not their physical nature that frightened the galaxy. It was their minds. Humans were predators. They had evolved hunting and killing. They understood violence in ways peaceful species could not imagine. They had concepts like war, murder, and revenge. They were dangerous. Humans. One of the passengers whispered. We called the humans. Better than the Kravax, Nessa said, but she did not sound certain. Thalen made another decision. Open a live feed to the Galactic Network. Let everyone see what happens here. If the humans save us, the galaxy should know. If something else happens, there should be a record. The feed went live. Across 1,000 worlds, billions of beings tuned in to watch. A Valorian cruise ship dead in space, Kravax raiders approaching, and somewhere in between, humans were coming. The Indomitable raced through space at maximum speed. Captain Reeves stood on her bridge watching the countdown. 1.5 cycles to reach the Valorians. The Kravax would arrive half a cycle earlier. We will not make it in time, Commander Chen said quietly. Then we will arrive in time to avenge them, Reeves replied. Either way, the Kravax will regret attacking that ship. She touched the comm button. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to enter combat against Kravax raiders. They outnumber us. They outgun us. But they made one critical mistake. She paused and her voice grew cold. They attacked civilians under human protection. Show them what that mistake costs. In the darkness of space, three forces converged on a single point. The Kravax, confident and cruel, the Valorians, frightened and helpless, and the humans, angry and coming fast. The galaxy watched and waited to see what would happen when someone provoked the Deathworlders. The Kravax ships arrived first, just as predicted. 3 massive vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the helpless Valorian cruise ship. They were called Blood Talon, Render, and Bone Collector. The names told you everything about their purpose. On the bridge of the Blood Talon, Commander Zrak smiled with his mouth full of sharp teeth. He was a Kravax warrior, 7 feet tall with scales like armor and claws like knives. His species had terrorized this region of space for decades. No one could stop them. The Galactic Patrol was too slow, too cautious, too weak. Scan the Valorian ship, Zrax ordered. Tell me what we have. His tactical officer worked quickly. 3,000 passengers, Commander. All Valorian. No weapons detected. No defense systems. No escort ships. Perfect, Zrax growled. Open a channel. On the Serenity's dawn, Captain Thalen received the incoming transmission. He had no choice but to answer. The face of Commander Zrax appeared on the main screen, and several Valorian passengers gasped in fear. Valorian ship, this is Commander Zrax of the Kravax Dominion. Your ship is now property of the Dominion. Prepare for boarding. Your passengers will be processed. Do not resist and some of you may survive. Thalen felt sick. Processed meant slavery. His people, his passengers, would be sold across the galaxy. The strong would work until they died. The weak would be killed immediately. There was no mercy in Zrax's eyes. Commander, please, Thalen began. We are a civilian vessel. We have no value to you. Let us contact... You have no bargaining position, Zrax interrupted. Prepare for boarding. You have 10 standard minutes. The transmission ended. On the bridge of the Serenity's dawn, Nessa looked at her captain with tears in her eyes. What do we do? Before Thalen could answer, the sensor officer shouted. New ship arriving. Dropping out of FTL. On the view screen, a ship appeared between the Valorians and the Kravax raiders. It was the Indomitable. Compared to the massive Kravax vessels, it looked small. But there was something about it that made Thalen's breath catch. It looked dangerous. It looked ready. Captain Reeves stood on her bridge, watching the Kravax ships on her display. She had arrived just in time. The raiders had not yet started boarding. She could still stop this. Open a channel to all ships, Reeves ordered. Let everyone hear this. The communication went out, broadcasting to the Kravax, the Valorians, and across the galactic network where billions watched. Reeves spoke in a calm, clear voice. Kravax vessels, this is Captain Maria Reeves of the United Nations Space Command ship Indomitable. You are in violation of galactic sanctuary laws by threatening a civilian vessel. Withdraw immediately, or we will interpret your actions as hostile intent against a vessel under human protection. Aboard the Blood Talon, Commander Zrax stared at the human ship on his screen. Then he began to laugh. His officers joined him. The sound was cruel and mocking. A human ship, Zrak said between laughs. One small human ship thinks it can threaten 3 Kravax warships? He opened a return channel. Human, your bravado amuses me, but you have made a fatal error by answering that distress call. You have just declared war on the Kravax Dominion. On the Serenity's dawn, Thielen and his crew watched in horror. The human ship was smaller than any of the Kravax vessels. The humans were outnumbered 3-1. This would be a massacre. They came to help us, Nessa whispered. And now they are going to die. But First Officer Nessa noticed something. The human ship was not retreating. It was not trying to negotiate. It was just sitting there, silent and still. Waiting. Humans do not bluff, she said quietly. I have read about them. If they make a threat, they have already decided to follow through. Commander Zrax was tired of talking. He wanted to teach these humans a lesson. Blood Talon fire a warning shot across their bow. Show them we are serious. The Kravax warship fired a plasma bolt. It was a powerful weapon, designed to melt through ship armor. The bolt streaked through space toward the Indomitable. On the human bridge, alarms sounded. Incoming plasma fire, the tactical officer reported. Point defense, intercept, Reeves ordered calmly. The Indomitable's defensive weapons activated instantly. Small railguns tracked the incoming plasma bolt and fired. Solid metal slugs, accelerated to enormous speeds, hit the plasma and dispersed it. The attack vanished before reaching the human ship. On the Blood Talon, Zrak stopped smiling. His warning shot had been destroyed effortlessly. That should not have been possible. Captain Reeves opened the channel again. Her voice was colder now, harder. That was your warning shot. You do not get another one. All ships attack, Zrax roared. Destroy that human vessel? But Reeves was already moving. All ahead full. Tactical, prepare railgun batteries. Target the render first. Fire when ready. The Indomitable accelerated directly toward the Kravax fleet. Inside the ship, the human crew experienced 8 times Earth's gravity as their ship pushed to maximum speed. Their seats had special cushions and their suits had pressure systems, but it was still painful. Some aliens would have died from such force. Humans just gritted their teeth and did their jobs. On the Galactic Network, viewers across the galaxy watched in shock. The human ship was not running. It was attacking. One small vessel charging straight at 3 larger warships. They are insane, a Valorian passenger whispered. No, Nessa said, watching the human ship accelerate. They are angry. The Indomitable opened fire. From its bow, railguns launched solid metal slugs at incredible speeds. These were not energy weapons like most of the galaxy used. They were kinetic weapons, old-fashioned and brutal. Humans had used similar weapons for thousands of years. They understood how to make them devastating. The first salvo hit the render before its crew even realized they were under attack. The Kravax ship had energy shields designed to stop plasma and laser fire. But railgun slugs were solid matter, traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. The shields might as well have been paper. The metal slugs punched through the render's shields, through its armor, and through its hull. Atmosphere vented into space. Internal explosions rippled through the ship. Within seconds, the render was dead, tumbling through space without power or life support. On the Blood Talon, Commander Zrak stared in disbelief. One of his ships was destroyed. Just like that. One attack from the humans and a Kravax warship was finished. Return fire, he screamed. All weapons. The Blood Talon and Bone Collector both opened fire, sending plasma bolts and missiles at the human ship. The Indomitable did not dodge. It flew straight through the attack, its armor taking the hits. The hull glowed red in places where plasma struck. Some armor plates were blown away, but the ship kept coming. Captain Reeves watched the damage reports. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Casualties minimal. Armor holding. Commander Chen looked at her. Captain, we cannot take many more hits like that. We will not have to, Reeves said. She touched the comm button. Marine Commander, prepare for boarding action. Acknowledged, came the reply. The Indomitable changed course, turning sharply toward the Bone Collector. Zrak saw what the humans were planning and could not believe it. They are going to ram us, the tactical officer shouted. The human ship crashed into the Bone Collector's side, its reinforced prow crumpling the Kravax ship's docking bay. Metal screamed against metal. Both ships locked together, tangled in a violent embrace. And then the humans opened their airlocks and sent in their Marines. The Marines came through the breach like a storm. There were 60 of them, wearing powered armor that made them look like metal giants. Each suit was painted dark gray with the letters UNSC on the shoulder. Each Marine carried weapons that looked simple but deadly. The Kravax warriors waiting on the other side opened fire immediately. Plasma bolts filled the corridor with bright light and heat, but the Marines kept coming. Their armor was designed by humans for humans, and humans expected to get hurt. Sergeant Marcus Webb led the first squad through the breach. He was a big man, even without the armor, with dark skin and calm eyes. He had fought in 3 campaigns before this. He knew his job. "Spread out, watch your corners, move with purpose," Webb ordered over the squad comm. His team moved like they had trained together for years, because they had. Each Marine covered a different angle, no gaps, no confusion. A Kravax warrior jumped from behind a corner, roaring. He was 7 feet tall with claws extended and teeth bared. He looked terrifying. The Kravax had used their size and appearance to frighten other species for generations. Webb shot him twice in the chest. The Kravax dropped. "Contact front," Webb reported calmly. "Keep moving." On the Galactic Network, billions watched the footage from cameras still working in the Bone Collector's corridors. They saw the human Marines advancing through the ship. What shocked viewers most was not the violence. It was the coordination. The humans moved as a unit. When one Marine reloaded, another covered them. When they reached a corner, they did not rush around it blindly. They used small cameras on sticks to look first, then used grenades to clear the space, then advanced only when it was safe. It was efficient. It was professional. It was terrifying. "They move like pack hunters," Nessa said aboard the Serenity's Dawn. She had studied Earth animals as a hobby, like wolves. Each one knows what the others will do. A Kravax squad tried to set up an ambush in a large cargo bay. 15 warriors with heavy weapons waiting for the humans to enter. It should have been a perfect kill zone. But the Marines did not walk into the trap. They knew it was there. Centuries of human warfare had taught them to recognize ambushes. Instead, they sealed the exits and filled the bay with smoke grenades. Then they entered wearing thermal vision, seeing the Kravax in the smoke while the Kravax could see nothing. The firefight lasted 30 seconds. When it was over, all 15 Kravax had surrendered. The Marines zip-tied their hands and moved on. They did not gloat. They did not celebrate. They just continued their mission. Inside the Bone Collector, the Kravax crew began to panic. Their warriors were the toughest in this region of space. They had conquered dozens of species, but the humans were not like other species. The humans were Deathworlders, and Deathworlders knew how to kill. Commander Zrax, watching from the Blood Talon, saw his sister ship being captured. His crew looked at him with fear in their eyes. These humans were supposed to be weak. The galaxy said humans were dangerous, but Zrax had thought it was exaggeration. Now he knew the truth. "Retreat," Zrax said quietly. "Commander?" his tactical officer asked. "I said retreat," Zrax roared. "Get us out of here now." The Blood Talon turned to run, its engines burning hard to escape. But Captain Reeves was not finished. She opened a channel to the fleeing Kravax ship. "Commander Zrax, this is Captain Reeves. You fired on a civilian vessel. Under human law, you have committed acts of piracy and attempted murder. You are not leaving." The Indomitable fired again. Railgun slugs crossed space in seconds and hit the Blood Talon's engines. Explosions rippled across the back of the ship. The Kravax vessel lost power and drifted, unable to move. "Commander Zrax, surrender your vessel or I will continue firing," Reeves said. "You have 30 seconds. On the bridge of the Blood Talon, Zrax looked at his crew. They were warriors trained for combat, but they were not trained for this. The humans fought differently. They did not just want to win. They wanted to dominate completely. "We surrender," Zrax said, his voice defeated. 20 minutes later, Marine Commander Sarah Okafor stood on the bridge of the Bone Collector. Her armor was scarred from plasma hits, but she was uninjured. Around her, captured Kravax sat with their hands bound. The ship was secure. "Bridge secure, Captain," Okafor reported to Reeves. "Enemy casualties minimal. We have 73 prisoners." "Casualties on our side?" Reeves asked. 12 wounded, none critical. 0 killed." Aboard the Serenity's Dawn, the Valorians could not believe what they were watching. The battle was over. The humans had won. 3 Kravax ships defeated, 1 destroyed, 2 captured, and not a single human had died. Captain Thalen received an incoming transmission from the Indomitable. He accepted it nervously. Captain Reeves appeared on the screen. She looked tired but alert. Human, with those forward-facing predator eyes that unnerve so many species. "Captain Thalen, this is Captain Reeves." "Are your people safe?" Reeves asked. Thalen was confused by the question. "Yes, we are unharmed. The Kravax did not board us." "Good. Do you need medical assistance or supplies? We can send shuttles. You want to help us?" Thalen asked. "After what you just did, you are asking if we need help?" Reeves looked puzzled. "Of course. That is why we came. You sent a distress call." Thalen realized something profound in that moment. The humans had not come here for glory. They had not come for payment. They had not come for political advantage. They had come because someone needed help and they could provide it. "I do not understand you," Thalen said honestly. "You are predators. You are warriors. You just destroyed 3 warships, but you are asking if we need medical care?" "Captain, on Earth we have a saying," Reeves replied. "We take care of our own. You sent an SOS, that made you our responsibility. The Kravax threatened you, that made them our enemy. It is simple." "Nothing about humans is simple," Thalen said, but he was smiling. Within an hour, human shuttles docked with the Serenity's Dawn. Medical personnel came aboard to check the Valorian passengers for injuries. They were gentle and professional. Engineers examined the cruise ship's engines and began repairs. A group of Valorian children, curious and fearless the way children are, gathered around a young Marine standing guard in the corridor. He was tall and young, maybe 25. His armor was marked with scorch marks from the battle. One child, brave or foolish, reached out and touched the Marine's armored hand. The Marine, whose name was Private James Chen, looked down. The child stared up at him with wide eyes. Chen did something that was being broadcast across the entire galactic network. He knelt down to the child's level. Then he reached into a pocket and pulled out a photo. It showed a small human girl, about the same age as the Valorian child. "That is my daughter," Chen said softly. "Her name is Emma. She is 5 years old. When I came to help you today, I thought about her. I thought about what I would want someone to do if she was in danger." The Valorian child smiled. The Marine smiled back. And across the galaxy, billions of viewers saw something they had not expected. The Deathworlders were not monsters. They were parents, children, friends. They were people who fought to protect others. First Officer Nessa watched the scene and finally understood. "They are apex predators," she said to Captain Thalen. "But they are also pack animals. They protect their pack. And when we sent that SOS, they decided we were part of their pack. But the peace did not last long. On the Galactic Network, an official transmission appeared. It was from the Kravax Dominion High Command, sent from their homeworld far across space. The message was simple and terrifying. The Kravax Dominion demanded the humans surrender the captured ships and warriors. They demanded payment for the destroyed vessel. They demanded an apology, and if humans refused, the Dominion promised war. They were sending 50 warships to make their point clear. The target was a human colony called New Perth, 6 light-years from Earth. Population 2 million. Defense is minimal. The message ended with a warning. The Dominion would show the galaxy what happened to species who defied them. Captain Reeves received orders from Earth Command. They were brief. "Well done, Captain. Return home. We will handle the Dominion." The Kravax intercepted that message. They thought it meant the humans were afraid. They thought Earth was calling Reeves home because they wanted to negotiate. They were very wrong. The Kravax had just made the biggest mistake in their history. They had threatened human civilians. They had declared war on Earth, and Earth was about to show them what happened when you provoked a death world. The Kravax fleet arrived at New Perth 3 days later. 50 warships, the largest battle group the Dominion had assembled in 20 years. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the system and began their approach to the human colony world. On the bridge of the flagship Domination, Fleet Commander Krall studied the tactical display. New Perth orbited a yellow star similar to the human homeworld. The colony was only 15 years old, but already held 2 million people. It had farms, factories, and families. It would be easy prey. "What defenses do they have?" Krall asked. 8 system defense ships, Commander. 12 orbital defense platforms. The colony itself has some ground-based weapons, the tactical officer reported. They are transmitting evacuation orders to their civilians. Krall laughed. Evacuate 2 million people? Where will they go? They have nowhere to run. But Krall had not asked the right question. The right question was not where the humans would run. It was what they would do while waiting for help. On New Perth, Colonial Governor Sarah Martinez stood in the command center. She was 50 years old, gray-haired, and tough as steel. She had helped found this colony. She had watched it grow, and she would be damned if she would let the Kravax take it without a fight. "Governor, we have civilian transports ready," her aide reported. "We can evacuate approximately 40% of the population before the Kravax arrive. And the other 60%? Martinez asked. The aide did not answer. He did not have to. "Send a message to all civilians," Martinez ordered. "Tell them they can evacuate if they choose. But also tell them this." She paused. "Tell them this is our home. We built it. We live here. Our children go to school here. If they want to stay and fight, we will fight." The message went out. Martinez expected maybe half the population to stay. Instead, 90% refused to evacuate. They were humans. New Perth was their home, and humans did not abandon their homes easily. The 8 defense ships of the New Perth System Defense Force launched from orbit. They were small vessels, lightly armed, meant for pirates and smugglers. They were not meant to fight a fleet, but their crews launched anyway. Commander David Torres commanded the lead ship, the Perth's Pride. He was 32 years old and had served in the UNSC before taking this colony posting. He knew exactly how bad the odds were. "All ships, this is Torres, spread out in defensive formation. Make them work for it. Every minute we buy is another minute for help to arrive. Commander, help is 6 days away," his tactical officer said quietly. "Earth Command acknowledged our distress call, but their closest fleet needs 6 days to reach us. Then we hold for 6 days," Torres said simply. The battle began when the Kravax fleet entered weapons range. 50 ships against 8. It was not even a fair fight. But the human defenders made the Kravax pay for every meter of space. The Perth's Pride fired its railguns at maximum range, targeting the lead Kravax ships. Solid slugs crossed the distance in seconds, slamming into shields and armor. The Kravax returned fire with overwhelming force. Plasma bolts and missiles filled space with light and death. 3 human ships died in the first 10 minutes. But they took 2 Kravax vessels with them, and damaged 4 more. The Kravax had expected easy prey. Instead, they found humans who refused to die quietly. Commander Torres watched his ship's shields fail, watched his armor peel away under plasma fire. Around him, crew members worked frantically to keep systems running. One young woman, barely 20 years old, stayed at her post even as fire broke out around her. She kept the weapons firing until the very end. The Perth's Pride died 40 minutes into the battle. But before it exploded, Torres sent one final message. "Earth, this is New Perth. We held as long as we could. Don't let our deaths be for nothing. Make them pay." The message traveled through space at the speed of light, heading back toward Earth. It would take hours to arrive, but when it did, it would change everything. On New Perth's surface, Governor Martinez watched the battle from her command center. She saw her orbital defense ships die one by one. She saw the defense platforms destroyed. She saw the Kravax fleet move into bombardment position over her planet. "Governor, the Kravax are hailing us," her communications officer said. Martinez accepted the transmission. Fleet Commander Krall appeared on the screen, looking satisfied. "Human colony, this is Fleet Commander Krall. Your defenses are destroyed. Your ships are gone. Surrender your planet and we will consider being merciful." "You want mercy?" Martinez asked. "Then you should leave now. Because when Earth finds out what you did here, mercy is the last thing you will get." Krall smiled. "Earth is 6 days away. By then, this planet will be ours." He was wrong about that. Earth was not 6 days away anymore. In the Sol system, humanity's home system, alarms had been sounding for 3 days. Ever since the Kravax Dominion declared war, Earth had been mobilizing. The United Nations Space Command activated reserves, called in ships from patrol, and prepared for total war. Admiral James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the UNSC Victorious, a heavy battleship 3 times the size of the Indomitable. Around his flagship, 199 other warships formed up. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, assault ships. It was the largest fleet Earth had assembled since first contact with alien life. "Admiral, all ships report ready," his executive officer reported. Okonkwo looked at the tactical display showing New Perth's location. 6 days at standard fleet speed. But Earth did not have 6 days. The colony was under attack now. The colonists were dying now. Navigation, plot a jump course directly to New Perth. Maximum speed, consequences be damned, Okonkwo ordered. Sir, at that speed the fleet will arrive in chaos. Ships will drop out of FTL at different times and positions. We will be vulnerable, the navigation officer warned. Then we will be vulnerable, Okonkwo said. But we will be there. And the Kravax will learn what happens when they attack human families. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel, pushing their engines beyond safe limits. Ships that were designed to jump together in tight formation scattered across hyperspace, each racing to reach New Perth. It was dangerous. It was reckless. It was exactly what was needed. At New Perth, the Kravax began their bombardment. Plasma bolts rained down from orbit, hitting industrial centers and military installations. Governor Martinez had evacuated civilians from target zones, but there were still casualties. 20 people died in the first strike, then 50 more, then 100. The colonists fired back with ground-based railguns and missiles. They damaged 3 Kravax ships badly enough to force them to withdraw. But it was not enough. The Kravax had 50 ships and unlimited ammunition. The colonists had limited weapons and no way to resupply. Governor, we are reading multiple FTL signatures, the censor officer suddenly shouted. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. Governor, there are ships dropping out of FTL all around the system. Martinez felt hope surge in her chest. Can you identify them? Yes, Governor. The censor officer was smiling. They are UNSC ships. Earth sent a fleet. Aboard the Domination, Fleet Commander Krall stared at his tactical display in shock. Human ships were appearing everywhere, dropping out of hyperspace in a chaotic swarm. They were scattered across the system, disorganized, vulnerable. He should attack immediately while they were confused, but then he saw how many ships there were. His tactical computer counted them. 100, 150, 190, 200. 200 ships, Krall whispered. They sent 200 ships. His tactical officer looked terrified. Commander, the Galactic Council's intelligence said humans only had 80 warships total. Then the Galactic Council was wrong, Krall said. He opened a transmission to all his ships. All vessels formed defensive formation around the Domination. Prepare for engagement. But he was already planning his retreat. The Kravax had 50 ships. The humans had 200. The mathematics were simple and brutal. Then a transmission came through from the human flagship. A human male appeared on Krall's screen, wearing a dark uniform with 5 stars on his collar. His expression was cold and hard. Kravax forces, this is Admiral James Okonkwo of the United Nations Space Command. You attacked a human colony. You killed human civilians. You have 30 seconds to surrender before I open fire. Krall tried to sound confident. Admiral, you are outnumbered. We have 50 ships and 300 years of combat experience. Withdraw now and— You have 20 seconds, Okonkwo interrupted. The transmission ended. Krall looked at his crew, at his fleet, at the impossible number of human ships surrounding him. For the first time in his life, he felt real fear. Commander, orders? His tactical officer asked. Before Krall could answer, the human fleet opened fire. The battle for New Perth lasted 6 hours. It was brutal and bloody. The Kravax fleet fought hard, using every tactic they had learned in 3 centuries of raiding, but they had never fought Deathworlders before. They had never faced an enemy that refused to break. The human fleet took terrible casualties. 40 ships were destroyed in the fighting. The UNSC Relentless was cut in half by plasma fire. The carrier Steadfast lost all its fighters but kept launching more until the ship exploded. Thousands of humans died in those 6 hours, but the Kravax fleet was annihilated. All 50 ships were destroyed or captured. The Domination, Fleet Commander Krall's flagship, surrendered after losing all weapons and engines. Krall himself survived, though many of his crew did not. When the battle ended, Admiral Okonkwo stood on his bridge and looked at the casualty reports. 4,000 humans dead, another 6,000 wounded, 40 ships destroyed. It was the highest death toll in human space combat since first contact. Admiral, the colony is secure, his executive officer reported. Governor Martinez is requesting to speak with you. Okonkwo accepted the transmission. Governor Martinez appeared on screen, her face streaked with tears. Admiral, thank you. You saved us. I wish we had arrived sooner, Okonkwo said quietly. How many colonists did you lose? 347, Martinez said. Her voice broke slightly. 347 people died because the Kravax attacked us. Then 347 humans will be remembered, Okonkwo promised. I swear to you, Governor, the Kravax will answer for this. But winning the battle was not enough. The Kravax Dominion still existed. Their homeworld, Kravax Prime, was 6 light-years away. The Dominion had more ships, more weapons, and a government that did not care about casualties. Earth Command sent new orders. Admiral Okonkwo would take the fleet to Kravax Prime, not to raid, not to punish, to end the Dominion completely. The human fleet spent 2 days at New Perth making repairs and treating wounded. They buried their dead with full military honors. 4,000 graves on a colony world, each marked with a name and a flag. The colonists came to the funeral service. They remembered every name. They would never forget the people who died to save them. Then the fleet left for Kravax Prime. 160 ships remained after the battle. They jumped to hyperspace together, traveling toward the heart of the Dominion. On Earth, the Galactic Council sent frantic messages. They begged humans to stop. They offered to mediate. They warned that attacking Kravax Prime would violate dozens of galactic laws. Earth's response was cold and simple. They attacked our colony. They killed our people. This ends now. The fleet arrived at Kravax Prime 6 days later. The Dominion homeworld was a large planet with 3 billion inhabitants. It was defended by 300 warships, orbital fortresses, and ground-based weapons. It was the most heavily defended world in this sector of the galaxy. Admiral Okonkwo looked at the defenses and felt no fear, only determination. He opened a transmission to Kravax Prime, broadcasting to the entire planet. People of the Kravax Dominion, this is Admiral James Okonkwo of the United Nations Space Command. Your government attacked our colony at New Perth. They killed 347 of our civilians and 4,000 of our defenders. By the laws of warfare on Earth, we would be justified in destroying your world. He paused, letting that sink in. On Kravax Prime, billions listened in fear. But we are not going to do that, Okonkwo continued. Because unlike your government, we do not make war on civilians. Instead, here are our terms. Your government will surrender immediately. You will release every slave your people have taken. You will pay reparations for damages. And you will accept Galactic Council oversight for 1 generation. Refuse, and we will destroy every military installation, every warship, and every government building on your planet. You have 12 hours to decide. The transmission ended. On Kravax Prime, the government leaders met in emergency session. Some wanted to fight. They argued that the Kravax were warriors, that surrender was shameful, that 300 ships could defeat 160 human vessels. But then they watched the battle footage from New Perth. They saw how humans fought. They saw human ships take damage that would destroy other vessels and keep fighting. They saw human crews staying at their posts even as their ships exploded around them. They realized the terrible truth. Humans did not fight to win. They fought to survive. And a species that evolved on a death world knew how to survive anything. The Kravax government voted to surrender. It was not unanimous. Some leaders refused and had to be arrested by their own people. But 12 hours after the ultimatum, Kravax Prime transmitted its surrender. Admiral Okonkwo accepted it. The human fleet did not land troops. They did not occupy cities. They simply stayed in orbit watching while Galactic Council peacekeepers arrived to manage the transition. But Okonkwo did do one thing. He ordered the names of every human who died at New Perth to be broadcast on every frequency, in every language. He wanted the galaxy to know who had died. He wanted the Kravax to know the cost of their actions. 3 months later, Captain Thalen of the Serenity's Dawn was asked to address the Galactic Council. He stood before representatives of 200 species and told them what he had witnessed. We sent an SOS in desperation, Thalen said. We violated Protocol 7 because we were terrified of the Kravax. But humans came anyway. They saved us. Then when provoked, they showed the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. He paused, looking at the council members. But here is what terrifies me most. They are not proud of the war. They mourn their dead. They helped rebuild New Perth. They are even sending aid to Kravax Prime for civilians displaced by the occupation. These are not monsters. They are the most dangerous kind of species, apex predators with a conscience. The council debated for weeks. Finally, they voted to offer humanity a permanent seat on the Galactic Security Council. Earth accepted. Captain Maria Reeves was promoted to admiral and given command of a new fleet dedicated to protecting civilian vessels. The Kravax Dominion was reformed under galactic supervision. They freed their slaves, paid reparations, and began the long process of learning to exist peacefully. Some Kravax never accepted it, but most realized they had been given a gift. The humans could have destroyed them. Instead, they offered a chance at redemption. 1 year after the crisis began, Captain Thalen received a message. It was from Admiral Reeves. The message was simple. If you are ever in trouble again, call us. Humans protect their friends. Thalen sat in his cabin aboard the Serenity's Dawn, now fully repaired and back in service. He thought about everything that had happened. About the Kravax raiders. About the battle at New Perth. About the humans who came when called and fought when needed. First Officer Nessa entered his cabin. Captain, we have our new passenger manifest. The Galactic Council is assigning us a human liaison officer for this voyage. A human? Thalen asked. On our ship? They are doing it for all major civilian vessels now, Nessa explained. After what happened, the Council decided that having humans nearby makes everyone safer. Thalen smiled. A year ago, the idea of having a human on his ship would have terrified him. Now it made him feel safe. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were dangerous, but they were dangerous in defense of others. They were predators who chose to protect instead of prey, and that made them the best friends you could have in a dangerous galaxy. The human liaison arrived the next day. Her name was Lieutenant Sarah Kim, a young officer with a friendly smile. She met with Thalen and his crew, explaining her role. I am here to help coordinate with human forces if there is an emergency, Kim explained. But mostly I am here to make sure you feel safe. If you need anything, just ask. Thank you, Lieutenant, Thalen said. But I have to ask, why do humans do this? Why do you help us? Kim thought about the question for a moment. On Earth, we have a saying, no one fights alone. When you sent that SOS, you were alone and scared. We could not let that stand. It is just who we are. Across the galaxy, other species were learning the same lesson. Humans were Deathworlders. They were strong, tough, and dangerous. But they were also loyal, compassionate, and protective. They had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. It made them hard, but it also made them value life, all life, more than most species could understand. The message spread from world to world, from species to species. If you were in trouble, if you were scared, if you needed help, send an SOS. The humans would hear it, and they would come. Because that was what Deathworlders did. They protected their pack, and once you called for help, you were part of the pack. The Kravax had learned this lesson the hard way. They sent a threat and provoked the Deathworlders. Now they would never forget what that cost. But the rest of the galaxy learned a better lesson. The Deathworlders were not something to fear. They were something to be grateful for. Because in a dangerous universe, it was good to have humans on your side.